Welcome back here, Drew and Brandon talking sports on a Friday afternoon. Brandon, what is this? The second weekend now of the semester? How's it going?
Yeah, second week. It's pretty good. Um, nothing to complain about. I would say everything's going pretty good so far. I would assume it's the same for you.
Yeah, pretty good. Couple things I wanted to start out with. I wanted to ask you how was the Chris Berman thing? I was gonna try to go, but kind of a classes. I didn't technically have class during it, but it probably would have conflicted. So how was it?
It was pretty good to be
Oh,
honest.
sorry. Hold on. For people who don't know, because literally nobody's gonna know, Chris Berman came to our school and said stuff apparently. So how'd it go?
No, yeah. It was like probably like 40 minutes, I would say, of like there was an interviewer asking him questions. So he was just answering that, kind of talking about his life, ESPN, start in football, and just like he grew up in Connecticut, he said. But then there was some Q&A from the people that were there, so it was pretty fun. It was a pretty cool experience, to be honest. For him to be in person, like he was like 20 feet in front of me. I mean, that was pretty cool. I didn't really expect that to happen. So I thought it was a really good experience, though.
I didn't even know about it until they sent the email out about it. What, maybe 2 or 3 days, if that, before? Maybe not even.
Yeah. I think they said this happened pretty quick. Like they got it together in like a couple days and then they
Gotcha.
kind of shut
Okay.
it out.
No picture, no autograph, no.
I didn't take a picture with him. I took a picture of him, but not
Gotcha.
with them.
Yeah.
So
Tell me, this might be a hot take, this might be a cold take, but ever since I was little, I don't know why I thought this, but I always thought Chris Berman and Bill Belichick had a resemblance. Like I thought they kind of looked similar, not exactly alike, but see it, don't see it.
honestly, when I was there yesterday, he reminded me a lot of Al Michaels, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
I don't know if it was just the way that what he wore or whatever, but like for some reason he reminded me of Al Michaels. But that's the comparison I had in my mind.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. I mean, Chris Berman, I think, I don't know what he's doing here. I'm sure he's still with ESPN right now.
Yeah, he does like he's on like ESPN Plus. So he still does like the 3 minutes, like the fastest 3 minutes, but it's on ESPN Plus. So I mean kind of just does whatever. I think he actually said it. He said he's probably only gonna work a couple more years and then he'll probably retire. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like when cable was more prevalent and ESPN was the channel, he was like the guy.
yeah.
Now I think, I just knew I saw him way less. I should have realized that meant ESPN Plus behind the paywall. I don't pay for ESPN Plus. I don't know if you do or not, but
No.
he's way less, in our faces now, which I think stinks. I think he's entertaining. The 3 minute stuff, all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Another thing, not that this really matters, but I just replaced the ear cups to my headphones, like the little leather things, that touch your ears or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had these headphones for multiple years, I think at this point. I don't even remember when I might have got them before college. But for anybody that really cares, this is the headphone before, like this is the, so it's pretty beaten up.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
just like over time, I don't know exactly what's happened, but the leather has just like completely fallen off. Like this is the other one. Like for some reason, this is the inside.
Oh
I'm not
Jesus.
really
Yeah.
sure how that like happens. Maybe the music's just too loud or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's just all the freezing cold takes Brandon spits has just destroyed my headphone cups. Um,
I'll be
and then
going.
before this, actually, this is one last thing. Then we'll get into the football stuff. But I was just picking up like a quick brunch from the calf or whatever, and I go to check out and you usually tap your cue card, like your card to pay or whatever. People who don't go
Yeah.
here, and mine's just like over the past 2 days, like just stopped working. Like the card's still fine, it just doesn't tap. So I was like, oh, you have to like swipe it, and like I said it like a normal person would, and she was like, she gave me this like, she said like, when are you gonna fix it? And I was like, hopefully like today. Um, or she said, are you gonna fix it? And I was like, hopefully. And she was like, no. I said, when are you gonna fix it? And I was like, oh, hopefully today, I guess. And she gave me some like hopefully you do because I don't really appreciate having to swipe it. And I was like, It's like takes like half a second. Like it's not that.
Yeah, it takes like yeah, literally half a second more. That's I
Like
don't know. I don't even know what
I
to
didn't
say.
say anything because it's just easier for me to just be like, all right, thanks, and move on with my life. But I wanted to be
Yeah.
like, do they pay you to like just be mean to us? Like, I've only ever had like mean interactions with like all but maybe a few of the people that work here. Um, I mean, it's small, whatever. I don't blame them. I mean, they're dealing with like a bunch of people coming through lines, a lot of stuff to do. I don't blame them, but I feel like every time the York calf, I feel like they are not nice, which is whatever. But anyways, couple things in the NFL have happened since our last episode. We'll start off with the Vikings. The Vikings end up hiring Kevin O'Connell. Essentially, people have said he's a taller McVay. I don't know. I mean, who knows? He was, I believe, drafted by the Patriots or drafted by maybe he was a quarterback. I'm pretty sure. I know he was like the third stringer to Brady at one point. I believe, unless that's a different Kevin O'Connell, which I mean maybe is
See.
potential, but pretty sure because I remember seeing his name in Madden because back in the older Maddens, I think I lived on franchise mode and stuff like that and Ultimate Team. So I believe he was an NFL quarterback. If not, then I'm literally thinking of a different Kevin O'Connell. But anyways,
No, he was drafted third round, 2008,
Patriots,
and
right?
yeah, Patriots.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, I think he was probably their second choice, maybe their first. I'm not sure, but they obviously interviewed Harbaugh. Harbaugh says, "Who knows? We don't really know too much yet, but probably Harbaugh said no." And Harbaugh says that he's done looking for NFL jobs. Does that actually mean he's done looking for NFL jobs? I don't think so. I mean, let's just say the Sean Payton thing doesn't work out and the Cowboys approach Harbaugh about coming to Dallas. I'm not telling you that Harbaugh would for sure take that job, but I'll tell you Harbaugh would consider it because Harbaugh's probably getting 13, 14, 15 million there. He's in America's team, which means if he really wanted to take any sponsorships or deals or be a part of advertisements, he's taking up on that. I think that's the highest paying job you're going to get as a head coach, except, I don't know, maybe Michigan is higher paying still. I don't think so, though. I think he would consider another NFL job. So I think that's cap. I don't believe it. But I mean, what are your takes? Kevin O'Connell, Jim Harbaugh, which one would you rather have? What do you think about Harbaugh saying he's not going to consider NFL
Well,
job?
yeah, I mean, I'd probably rather have Harbaugh. But if I was Harbaugh, I mean, I don't think the Vikings job. Now, look, it's an NFL job, obviously, but for someone like him, like you said, almost every other cycle that happens, in these next couple years, his name's going to be in there anyways. He can take one of those jobs that will come up if he wants it. So I think it's good for him not take the Vikings job. I mean, we talked about this before, but I don't see that as an attractive job, to be honest. For someone like him, I think he should be at a championship level team that he should go to. That makes the most sense. But yeah, I mean, is he really not going to have his name be in there? He told Michigan like this won't be a year to year thing. Obviously, it's going to be. I mean, there's going to be multiple teams next year that need a head coach, and he's going to be a name that's going to be in there. So will it really stop? Probably not. And honestly, I think college really isn't the way to go because with all the NIL deals and everything like that, it's basically you're paying millions and millions of dollars to get these players. That's why you saw, Texas A&M had the highest rated like group of prospects or whatever, this year for the class or whatever. They've had like one 5-star recruit like the last 3 years, and this year they had seven. So I just don't even know if college is really even the way to go. So I really do see him going in the NFL. What team will that be? I don't know. But I think him passing on the Vikings is probably better for him because I think he can get a better job, whether it's next year, 2 years, 3 years. He can for sure get a better job sometime in the future.
I would agree. I think he can get a better job. I don't know. I don't know what he wants to do. He's so mysterious to me. He's a guy that has, for the most part, taken a job, rebuilt that organization, built them up to at least close to their peak. If not, he makes this era their peak and then dips. Is he going to do that with Michigan? I don't know. Maybe he's already done that. I mean, is this Michigan's peak? I don't think so, right? But pretty darn close. If he
Yeah, I
can
don't
make the
know.
playoff again this year, and if let's say he loses to either Alabama or Georgia and it's the same result, or maybe he wins against Alabama or Georgia or something like that, I think he considers leaving. I know he kind of said he's not considering leaving now, but I think he takes an NFL job at some point. I just think the NFL is too attractive, and I think he's too good of a coach to be in the college. I mean, I know Saban's an all-time great. I know Urban Meyer was / is an all-time great. But I think, I mean, the NFL is where you want to be, right? I mean, there's a reason Nick Saban at least tried the NFL. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not saying Nick Saban should go to the NFL, but if I was a head coach and I was looked at as an all-time great, I would want to establish that and make it so nobody had to come back to me saying I'm an all-time great or I'm the greatest of all time. There's a comeback for Nick Saban, and it is literally that you went to the NFL and you just did not work out. It is, it is what it is. I'm not saying I still think Saban's an all-time great, but I'm just saying. I mean, I personally would want to go to the NFL. I mean, maybe easier said than done, obviously, but yeah. Kevin O'Connell, do you have any thoughts on it? I mean, personally, me, I don't know. I mean, I prefer the offensive guy over the defensive guy in general. Obviously, I would have rather had Harbaugh, but I can't give any thoughts. I mean, I think it'll work out. We'll find out, though. I mean, I hope people don't go too overboard with the whole, like, young McVay, Shanahan prototype guys. So I hope he's ready. I think he's ready. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's another McVay guy, so I mean we'll see. I mean again, we saw Zach Taylor that clearly is working out this year at least, but we'll see. Again, I think it's a tough situation. You have Cousins there, so I mean this year they'll be competitive and they'll probably be around 500. But what's your plan moving forward? That's obviously huge. You need to draft well, or if you want to bring another guy in or whatever you do. But obviously Cousins isn't the answer there long term. So yeah, they have questions for sure. I think he'll do a decent job, but if they don't get at that quarterback plan for the future, then he'll probably be gone in 3 years. So it really depends on who's replacing Cousins after that. And I guess we'll just see when that happens.
Yeah. So next head coach hiring. As you can see, headline of ESPN article: Jacksonville Jaguars hired Doug Pederson as head coach. If I had to describe the Jaguars head coaching, searching process in one word, I would say probably dysfunctional, I think would be my word of choice. I don't know, maybe you have a better word, but it's just a dysfunctional process. I mean, they had wanted Leftwich, they didn't want Leftwich. We didn't really know who they wanted. The Urban Meyer stuff already didn't work out, so it didn't really help. The GM process is just confusing. I'm not really exactly sure where the Jaguars are at, really, to be honest. So it makes me question the hire without even thinking about the name Doug Pederson or who he is as a coach. Then I actually get into Doug Pederson as a head coach, which, I mean, in theory, yes, I think you would want an established guy with a pedigree of, winning, and he's going to bring a winning culture immediately, and he's a no-nonsense guy and also a quarterback, so he's relatable. He's an offensive guy, should be able to help out Lawrence. But it's Doug Pederson to me. I don't love Doug Pederson as a head coach. I think if we look back at the 2017 Eagles Super Bowl, I think we can safely say that was a majority Frank Reich. Frank Reich has proven himself to me as a top 10 head coach in the league, and maybe higher one day. Maybe he gets higher than that one day. He's taken the Colts to a height that maybe not unprecedented, or maybe, I don't know, but a height better than what Peterson took the Eagles to after 2017. I think Peterson has had a struggle keeping, a hold of the locker room at times. So it makes me, question, how stable is he really going to be? And I am scared of this hire if I'm a Jaguars fan. I don't think it's worst case, but I don't think it's near best case. So,
Well, the only thing I'll say is that, and look, I said this from before when obviously they fired Meyer. I said I thought they were going to go with a more experienced guy, get stability, get a guy who knows has been a head coach, at least has a winning aspect to him. So I'm definitely not surprised by this type of hire in Doug Peterson. But I mean, to be honest, you go back to Philly. I mean, was it his fault that it kind of crumbled down, or was it Wentz's fault? Because as we saw, Wentz goes to Indianapolis and it looks like they're primed for the playoffs, and then he struggles down the stretch. They lose to the Jaguars the last game of the season to make the playoffs. Like, so I don't know. I mean, was it really Peterson's fault? Everyone blamed him for not playing Wentz and not having good play calls and losing the locker room. But did he really? Because when Wentz leaves Philadelphia, they get better. And the Colts, again, they finish 9-8, 10-7, whatever they did, and missed the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't really know if I can put all the blame on Peterson. Is he a great coach? I don't think he's a great coach, but I think for Lawrence, I think he's, obviously he's been a quarterback, worked under Andy Reid. I think that helps a lot, to be honest. As we saw with Wentz in 2016, he was drafted. 2017, he, would have won MVP if he didn't get injured. So we'll see what happens in year two of Lawrence. Maybe not saying he's going to be an MVP, but he'll probably improve. He'll get better, and then by year three, he'll probably be a lot better. But I think it's a decent hire. Now the GM situation, I don't know what's going on there. Again, Trent Baalke, he's technically still the GM right now, so I don't exactly know. Again, Leftwich was a me or him. That's why he took his name out because it seems like he's staying. But is Peterson okay with him? Is Shad Khan going to fire? Like, I don't exactly know what's going on there. But what I do know is that Peterson's the head coach, and I think it's a pretty good hire, to be honest. Again, the experienced guy, I think, was the right choice over the inexperienced guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I really I have no idea. I have my doubts, but I think that's a good point. I mean, I think you should place at least some blame on Wentz. I'm not gonna play him. I'm not gonna put all of it on Wentz because at the same time, this Colts team had injuries. It's not a perfect roster. I think you could have probably argue the Eagles roster after the 2017 Super Bowl was better to win now than the Colts roster is now. Even though the Colts roster is pretty good, I'm not saying it's bad,
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. I think their
but
team is pretty good. I
I'm
mean,
not.
Philip Rivers brought
I
that team to the playoffs, and that was without Jonathan Taylor being the way he was this year.
Yeah, but I mean, we also missed the Colts team had a not like Ravens type injuries, but they missed Leonard for a good amount of games. I want to say they missed Nelson for at least a few games. I couldn't name all the injuries off the top of my head. I mean, their wide receiver core isn't. I mean, it's probably a bottom half of the league wide. I mean, who's your wide receiver one there? Pittman?
No, I mean, look, they're kind of built like Tennessee, but I mean, they're I would say probably a better Tennessee. It's kind of weird to say that, but I think their roster is better than Tennessee, but at the same time, Tennessee's the better overall team. But yeah, they don't have a great wide receiver core, but still, I mean, you have a guy who rushed for basically 2,000 yards, and as long as you had the lead, all you had to do is just control the clock, play your normal game, and not do anything stupid. And again, they didn't even make the playoffs. I think that's just really telling of Wentz, in the situation like that he was in compared to Philadelphia. And again, Philadelphia made the playoffs the year that he leaves. I just think, that's definitely not a coincidence.
Yeah, I would agree, but I still think the majority falls on Peterson. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I am wrong. I don't know. I mean, Wentz had a bad year this year, and I was technically right about the Colts all the way up until the end. But I don't feel right about the Colts. I mean, I told you the Colts would be good, and they were good, and I told you that they'd still be really good after starting like 1-4, and they were really good after starting 1-4. But I predicted Wentz would be a top 15 quarterback, borderline top 10, who returns to. You can at least see a lot of glimpses from his 2017 MVP caliber season, and we didn't see that. We saw him regress, and so I feel like I was wrong about the Colts. I didn't see Taylor having the year he had. I thought it'd be more Wentz carrying that offense than Taylor. I was wrong. Ended up biting the Colts in the butt. But yeah, yeah, I would concur with the fact that Wentz has room to blame for Philly's downfall as well. So I think it's a good point.
Here, wait, I actually had a quick question actually. Kind of revisionist history, but 2016 draft, just because I thought about Wentz. Uh, 2016 draft, obviously Wentz goes two, Golf one. But if you were to do that draft again, would now obviously Dak was in the fourth round. Would Dak go number one, or would you had Jalen Ramsey go five, Joey Bosa go three? Like would you put Dak all? Would you if you were to redraft? Would Dak go number one in that draft?
I need all the names in front of me. I mean, you got off the top of my head, you got Goff, Wentz, Ramsey, Zeke, Prescott.
I'm looking through the names right now. The biggest ones I would say is Chris Jones, Yannick Ngakoue is in there, Michael Thomas, Derrick Henry, but obviously you're not going to go Derrick Henry first. Um, those are probably the biggest names I would say that are kind of in the first couple rounds. Obviously Jalen Ramsey went five, like I said. So um, Judon went in the fifth round. That's actually kind of crazy. He went in the fifth round, but Tyreek Hill went in the fifth round. I guess that obviously would have been higher up. But still, first overall, I think the answer probably would be Dak, though. Correct?
Well, I'm looking right now. I'm looking at this NFL.com article. My face is really white because this article is really bright. But they have Prescott going 1, Bosa 2 to the Browns. Michael Thomas 3. This is from a year ago. Michael Thomas 3, Zeke 4, Ramsey 5, Hill 6, Ronnie Stanley 7, Wentz 8 to the Eagles. They have DeForest Buckner to the Bears at 9, Bradbury to the Giants at 10. He's in New York. Xavier Howard 11, Chris Jones 12, Laramie Tunsil 13, Kevin Byard 14, Henry 15 to the Titans. Then you start to get to like Jack Conklin, Keanu Neal, Ryan Kelly, Yannick Ngakoue, Jalen Smith. This is kind of where it starts to tail off. Wow, Tooney at 23, that's pretty low. Justin Sims at 25, that's pretty low too, I think. Judon at 28, Hunter Henry 30, Jared Goff 31. Okay, so
Wow, Goff 31.
I think, yeah, I mean, Prescott goes 1, right? I mean, Prescott goes 1. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, it's the Rams picking 1, so they need a quarterback. They're going to be moving to LA. I believe they play after this draft. They play one more year in St. Louis, then LA, right? I believe.
No,
Or was that the first year of LA?
this was their first year in LA.
Okay, so you need a quarterback, no matter what. No matter, I mean, the town is regardless of the town, you need a quarterback. There's no better option here than Prescott, especially that it's the Rams. Now, if it's a different team that doesn't need a quarterback, I mean, that's when you start to get into this debate of, is it Bosa? Is it Michael Thomas? Is it Zeke? Is it Jalen Ramsey? Is it Tyreek Hill? Is it Ronnie Stanley? I think those are your options. Chris Jones, that's the last one I'd throw in there. Maybe Derrick Henry, but I don't think Derrick Henry goes 2 here, or 1 if you don't, if the team didn't need a quarterback. I think Bosa is the solid number 2 option. Either Bosa. No, I go Ramsey. I apologize. I go Ramsey number 2.
Yeah,
Maybe number 1. Maybe number 1. I mean, if it's a team that has nothing, and like I know what Dak is coming, redrafting this team, and I know what Ramsey is. I mean, Ramsey, while not a all-time dominant cornerback, I mean, he's a once in a, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's no such thing as a dominant cornerback anymore, arguably, with the way the defense is, the rules are in the NFL. So, I don't know. Maybe I go Ramsey 1. I don't know. To me, it's either probably Prescott or Ramsey.
Yeah, I would go Dak, but it's just crazy. Like you can go back to these drafts and you could just look at, like you look at who went number 1 and you could look at someone who went in like the 3rd round or something like that, and then they probably went first. So it's just crazy to think like you can, because again, this has been 6 years since this draft, so you know what all these players are, you know what they're going to give you in the future, you know what they've already given you, and if they're done. So yeah, it's crazy to look back at that and like think that Wentz or Goff probably. I mean, they'd go in the 1st round for sure, but I mean, like, yeah, they'd probably be, just way lower than that. For sure, Goff, too. I mean, obviously, but it's crazy to think about that.
All right, so here's an interesting question. Knowing what we know now, redraft, you have 2 options. Zeke or Henry?
It's the only problem is that Henry wasn't starting his first 2 years in the league. That's the only problem. So if he's starting
he wasn't as good. I mean, he just wasn't as good as he is now.
Well, they had DeMarco Murray there, who was the starter. Henry was the second guy. If you look at his first 2 years, his carries was just like way less than even like an average running back. So I mean, he just wasn't. He didn't have the physical nature of playing like that the first 2 years, while Zeke did. If you look at Zeke's first 2 years, obviously they were great, and if you look at Henry's first 2 years, they weren't. And then because he didn't have the amount of carries and the amount of damage to his body, then he's gotten a lot better over the last 3 years or whatever, and Zeke's obviously gone down. So I don't know. I guess Henry's probably built to last longer just because he's so physical and so huge. But I mean, to be fair, Zeke, he's never really been injured, to be fair. He's never had like a season-ending injury. He's been banged up, and that's every running back. But I guess you go Henry, but at the same time, Zeke also, gives you pass blocking. He's obviously not as good with the ball, but he gives you also a guy out of the backfield to catch the ball. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up, to be honest.
I think I go Zeke, and here's the reason why. So Henry, first year, he was number 2. I think second year, looking at the stats, the podcast can kind of see the stats that I pulled up for a couple minutes, but I think Henry was probably the split. I mean, I don't know how injuries worked out with Murray and Henry, but I think they kind of split reps for the most part in the second year. Also willing to say I mean, eye test from what I can remember. Henry just, I mean, he was big, but he wasn't nearly as dominant. He wasn't as,
Yeah.
quick acceleration wise. He just wasn't as dominant. To me, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So I get a dominant Henry in 2019, an MVP type Henry in 2020. Do we like include the fact he gets injured no matter what in 2021? Or are we saying like, maybe he gets injured, maybe he doesn't. It's, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to like just say he didn't get injured for 2 months, but I mean, also before his injury, he was easily going to lead the league in rushing, no matter what Jonathan Taylor did. He
Yeah,
was
I mean,
like 400 yards. He was
there's a
like 400
case,
yards
yeah.
ahead of him. So
Yeah, there's a case he wins
like,
MVP this year. I mean, one seed. They might even win an extra game, or maybe even two
yeah,
if, throw it in there, whatever. We'll call it 2,000 rushing yards. All the hype that Taylor got, Henry would have been getting because he's, just like you said, he's
yeah.
leading everything. They're the one seed the whole way through almost, except for, like the last game or whatever until, whatever. But, I mean, I think he wins MVP. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he probably would because 17 games. I mean, in 16 games he rushed for 2,000 yards. In 17, and again, he was on pace. I don't exactly know what he was on pace for,
So
but I can almost guarantee.
this
Yeah,
year he played 8 games, started all 8, rushed for 937 yards, 4.3 yards a carry, 76-yard long rush, 117 yards a game. Not quite what he was last year efficiency wise. Like he's a whole yard under what he was yard average carry, but I don't think it matters. I mean, it is what
but
it
he
is. Like,
also he also didn't play when in December, November, December, January. So like obviously the run game gets better. He's gonna get better. Playing in cold temperatures, people are just worn out anyway. So I honestly think, and again, he's always capable of going for like 170 3 straight weeks in a row. Like it's not like he'll do like a 200-yard game and then have like a 20-yard game. So like he's easily capable of putting up 150 plus in like 5 straight games if he really wants to. So even though I guess technically, he had 900 whatever yards, 8 games, he's on pace for about 2,000 yards if you add the extra game in there. I would probably say like confidently that he'd probably get like 2,200 yards because like there'd for sure be a game where he goes for like 180, 210, 160. Like he for sure he'd do that over multiple games. So
with all that being said, I agree with it. I think he wins MVP. I think he's probably in the neighborhood of 1,900 to 2,200 yards. I'm taking
yeah,
Zeke. The reason why is, I mean, if I'm drafting a running back, my ideal goal probably is we're drafting you. You play 5 years with us, and you're gone. I don't care how well you play. 5 years, I'm not paying you. Have a blast with your next team. They're gonna pay you, a truckload of money, and they may or may not be happy with it. I don't care. If I'm drafting running back, I'll take him for 5 years. I'll pick up the fifth year option if I love him. If not, obviously I won't. And it is what it is. I'm not gonna bet on the fact that a running back is good from years 6 to 9 or whatever it is, 6 to 10. I mean, it
yeah,
just doesn't happen. It just doesn't really happen anymore, and it didn't really anyways to begin with. So I go with Zeke because I think the timeline of his success lines up so much better with rookie contracts that I just think it works out for me. And I know he wasn't quite as dominant, but he was also probably better in the passing game. I think his style fit more for an offense that could be more well-rounded. You didn't have to build around Zeke necessarily. If
yeah,
you have an all-time great quarterback like a Mahomes, Allen, Brady, Rodgers, I think you get more out of Zeke than you do out of Henry because if you have Henry, I think it's just obvious the best way to build around Henry is to build around Henry. The best way to build around Zeke or running back like Zeke isn't necessarily to just run the ball to Zeke, 40 times a game, and it is what it is. I think it's to, have the pass set up the run or the run set up the play action, get him involved in the play action game. He can pass block. He can do whatever. He can catch probably better than Henry. He's more elusive out of the backfield than Henry with the ball, in a screen game. And I would rather have probably Zeke than Henry in the screen game. So, yeah, I'd go with Zeke. But anyways, I don't even know how we got there. But I think that's it for NFL, really. Unless you had something else you wanted
yeah.
to bring up.
No, I think that's it. I guess really the only team that doesn't have a head coach. Well, I guess there's two. I guess it's the Texans and the Saints. So just those two left.
quickly, I will bring this up. People have talked about this a lot. I don't think we need to talk about it too much. It's not really our thing. We don't really, anyways. But um, Flores obviously suing the NFL. Uh, Lots of stuff about it. I don't think we know enough yet to form any really big opinion on it necessarily. But I will say the claims are interesting, to say the least. I mean, I feel like Flores is telling the truth. I don't see. I just, to me, I mean, the Stephen Ross offering, the Dolphins owner offering Dolphins at the time head coach Brian Flores $100K per loss to tank for Tua. That was the tank for Tua year.
Yeah.
It sounds legit. I mean, I don't know if it's true or false yet, but that sounds legit. I mean, that just I can envision that happening. Also, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross essentially organizing a accident meeting between Flores and prominent quarterback, not named, but probably Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's true or false yet, but probably I'm gonna bet on true. All that stuff seems true. A lot of other stuff in there as well. If it all ends up being true, it would be sad and infuriating for me. I right now I think we have one African American head coach head coach in the NFL, I believe.
Tomlin.
Tomlin. I don't want to get into all of it. It's a lot and whatever, but yeah. But I think there's also the other side of it, which is, I mean, there's also Flores is a tough to work with head coach. I mean, that's just what we've seen from the Belichick coaching tree. McDaniels in Denver, just an extremely hard to work with guy. Bill O'Brien, obviously not the easiest to work with guy. If you've ever seen highlights of Brady, getting pissed on the sidelines, odds are a lot of it is with Billy O'Brien. Patricia, I mean, just his head coaching tenure with the Lions was known for being he just wasn't hard. He was hard to work with, and he was a Belichick, wannabe. I think we've seen that with the Belichick coach. I mean, Flores had like 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years, but and I know it. And honestly, my big takeaway from this so far, at least right now, is the saddest thing about it is that Flores probably isn't going to get a chance to head coach another team again. Probably. I mean, I hope he does because I think he's a great coach. And if I didn't have Belichick on the Patriots, I would hire Flores in a second if it was Flores or some random guy that I didn't really know very well because I don't think there's any doubt about it that he's probably been the most successful Belichick disciple yet. More successful than, pretty much everybody from the Belichick tree. But I mean, do you have anything quick to say on that? I mean, I don't think we don't know enough yet to really talk about it too much. We don't really get into a lot of the off the field, allegations and everything until we really know stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. We just don't know enough yet. I mean, what he said is for sure. I can't even really say. Well, some of the stuff is surprising, but other stuff really isn't. But yeah, it's. I think honestly, the Bill Belichick text was kind of weird. But even at the same time, though, the one thing I'll defend though is a team can have their mind made up on a guy and then still have interviews because that guy could change your mind. Like you could be like, all right, I'm dead set on this guy. We still have a couple more interviews left, but like the way I'm feeling right now is that we're gonna hire this guy. And then how about if Flores has an insane meeting and then just blows your socks off and then you want to hire him? So I don't that part kind of I don't know. I didn't really agree with that part, but the other stuff is yeah. I mean obviously, but that was just the one thing that I kind of didn't agree with.
yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I agree or disagree on it. I would say with the Rooney Rule being a thing, my gut tells me that interview was set up as literally just to fill the quota. And same with, if Flores' accusations with the Broncos, essentially doing the same exact thing with him and Elway and whoever else was there with the interview, just hung over or whatever, just clearly not, really mentally there. That's just stupid. Personally, I can't speak for Flores or anybody, but I know if I had a shot at something that I really cared about and, it was either, I guess what I'm saying is the Rooney Rule to me is a little weird. I mean, because I think this was what people was concerned about it was when it was first brought up as a thing way back when we were like, 2 years old or whatever, which is it's just going to set up a bunch of job interviews that essentially mean nothing because, I mean, I can't, nobody can blame the Giants for wanting to hire Dayball, as soon as they wanted to. I mean, he was probably the hottest coordinator on the market. He had been hot for a couple years now. What we saw with Josh Allen, I mean, the Giants need that. So I can't blame them. And personally, I would rather be, if I'm getting an interview, I would rather know it's legit than saying, well, there's a chance this isn't legit because, they have to interview a certain amount of, types of, whatever to fill a certain, check mark or whatever, check it off the, checkbox. To me, I think there's a better way to figure all that stuff out. We'll talk about, the lawsuit and everything as more stuff comes out. We just don't have enough to really talk about. I would agree the Belichick thing is so interesting. I think there's two angles on it. There's the angle of when this is probably what happened is he made a mistake. I think everybody's texted the wrong person by accident. This happens,
Yeah.
I think, it happens probably more often with older people, but Belichick thought he texted Dayball. He texted Flores. I mean, they have the same first name. Makes sense as to why that could happen. There's also the second angle on it, and this is the more interesting angle, and I don't know if this is true. It'd be funny if it was, but essentially Belichick did it on purpose to help Flores have a case against the NFL and also to kind of get back at the Giants because potentially he may have wanted to coach the Giants multiple years ago, and it never ended up working out, and they don't have a great history together, even though Belichick was, he coached Lawrence Taylor, LT, but essentially, he wanted to get back at the Giants while also helping Flores out a bit. So that would be interesting if that was the case. We're never going to find out, but that's that's a conspiracy type of thing. But it'd be interesting.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a stretch. But I mean, maybe I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when more stuff comes out. Which I mean, honestly, more stuff may never come out. We don't know, but assuming it does, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll be, if anything crazy happens with that, we'll bring it up on the podcast. But anyways, I think that's the NFL stuff. We'll move on. I guess we want to talk about the All-Star reserves from the NBA. Reserves were announced. Let me pull them up for you guys can be able to see them. My face is going to go white again because the screen is really bright. Let me try to... Do you want to list off some of the reserves while I try to figure this out?
I'll do the Eastern Conference reserves, I guess. So Jimmy Butler, Darius Garland, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum, and Fred VanVleet. That's the East reserves.
Okay. I mean, so off the top of your head, do you have any snubs or not really?
Well, I think there was a couple that I saw. I don't think there's anything too dramatic in this reserve. There's always I feel like almost every year there's always like one or two that are kind of ridiculous, but this one I feel like is pretty good. I think the only person that people could probably maybe make a case is that even though, I mean, Fred VanVleet's having a great year, 21 and a half points per game, but the team's not great. It's not like it's an amazing year. But it's also his first All-Star, so I think that probably played a factor into it. I think people were saying LaMelo could have been an All-Star. I think potentially. But I don't, like I said, I don't have a major problem with anyone not being on the list.
Did we technically talk about the starters? I'm not sure we ever really brought the starters
up.
Yeah,
we did.
We did? Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. We did. Yep, I remember. Okay. I mean, Jaylen Brown, would you have him as a snub or?
Yeah, I guess Jaylen Brown too. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, again, I think VanVleet's the one guy you could take off out of this list. I think everyone else that's on there should be on there. So yeah, I guess you could make the case for Brown over VanVleet. I guess I'd be fine with that.
I've heard the case of Brown over Middleton. I don't think that Jaylen Brown was a legitimate snub. Now, I don't know if snub means like should have been on or could have been on. If it could have been on, then yeah, he's a snub. If it should have been on, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about the Celtics because I guess I'm a Celtics fan, obviously, but to be 20 and 25 in the 9 seed and to have 2 All-Stars, I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not saying it should happen either. I mean, to me, I'm completely fine with only having 1 All-Star out of Boston. And if it's going to be 1, I mean, Tatum's just the better player right now. It is what it is. So I have no problem with that. So yeah, I think I'm honestly fine with the East reserves. I don't have too many just like this is egregious. It's horrible. But yeah, Western
And
reserves. Oh, sorry.
well, just one thing is that I mean, Harden. I mean, like he's dealing with injury. Like, there's probably going to be an injury replacement. So I'm assuming Brown would probably be the next guy that would replace someone if there was an injury.
It could be. I mean, it could also be LaMelo. It could be
Yeah,
Sabonis. It could be. We'll see. We'll find out. But Western reserves. I guess I'll list these off. You can see them on your screen right now if you're looking in the bottom left corner. Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Cat, Karl Anthony Towns. Any immediate snubs come to your mind for this?
yeah. Again, the one that at least I saw on like social media and stuff was DeJounte Murray, which I think he has a legitimate case. I mean, he's having. I mean, not probably like no one's really even going to know the year he's having, but he's having a really good year. I think he's 19, 8-8, I believe it is, or 19, 9-9 or something like that. At a point guard, Spurs. Obviously, they're having a great year. But at the same time, I think he was probably the biggest snub. But again, who exactly are you going to take off this list? I don't think you really can. Now, Draymond's not playing in this game, so that does open up a spot. So I'm assuming he would probably take that. But I don't have a problem with him not being on it because I do think everyone on there does deserve to be an all-star.
I would agree too. I mean, I guess technically Anthony Davis is a snub if you want to, but I mean,
Well,
he's
he
injured for
hasn't
too
played enough
long.
games.
Yeah, he just
So
hasn't played enough games, which is fine. I'm not saying he should be. Yeah, I don't have any problems with the West either. I think this is a relatively not saying I say underwhelming year of snubs. Like, I mean, there were for sure years when we're like, there have been years when Booker and Lillard were like toe to toe for the last reserve spot, and those years were really interesting. I don't think we have one of those years on us this year. I think it's just I don't think there's any egregious snubs. I think there have been years where there are egregious snubs. I don't think this year is that year. I mean, so I don't have any problems with it. I wouldn't say I have any problems with it.
yeah, no, I would agree.
But I guess we can move on from that and talk about our like last thing. I guess um, Tom Brady. There's a clips. If you see our second channel and you click the link in the description, there will be a video about me talking about Tom Brady and his retirement. Check it out if you want. If you don't, whatever. I'll ask you, Brandon, about it. Obviously, Brady officially retired on Instagram. Well, I guess technically, I don't know. I don't know if it's official or not. I guess it's pretty much official. But thoughts? I mean, I don't want to hear any of the Kratz great career. We all understand. Any legitimate thoughts?
Well, honestly, I have a question for you. I don't know if you reacted to this or not, but and I noticed this as soon as I saw a post on Instagram, but obviously he didn't mention the Pats in his Instagram post. I mean, did you care or did you not care, or is there, people on social media that said some stuff about that? So obviously, from a Pats fan,
Um,
what do you think?
so do I care? No, I don't care. At the same time, for anybody saying he didn't think about it or it just, it is what like he already thanked the Patriots. He wasn't thinking about thanking them this time. That's just false. I don't like. You're not convincing me. I'm not having the debate. If you're writing essentially almost a 9-page retirement thing on Instagram or whatever, there's no way you should be naming not the Patriots and the Patriots fans and all that. And obviously, after everything and the complaints and the backfires he got, he ended up kind of thanking the Patriots, and Belichick came out with a statement, and he kind of retweeted like a Patriots statement with Robert Kraft in it or whatever. So they got the Patriots, they got their due stuff or whatever. I don't care at all. I could not care less. But at the same time, for people who do care and do take it as kind of a shot towards New England, first off, you did boom in Gillette. I'm not saying you shouldn't have. I think it was good to boom in Gillette. I mean, I think it was. I don't think Brady should have taken it personally. I'm not sure he did. But I mean, who cares? I don't see why anybody should care. I mean, he's if anybody thinks there's any bridges burnt between the Patriots and Brady or whatever, I don't think it's legit. I mean, I think there's legitimate, a wound there between specifically the Patriots organization and Brady, but you got 5 years for that to heal before the Hall of Fame inductee speech or whatever. Everything's gonna be fine. Belichick and Brady are gonna be best buds again. Not best buds, but they're gonna be fine enough by the time Brady's getting his Hall of Fame speech. That'll probably be when Belichick's retiring if he's not retired by then already. Yeah, I don't read too much into it, but at the same time, was it by accident or was it on purpose? I think he left the Patriots and the fans and Belichick and Kraft out of it on purpose. I don't think there's any doubt about it. So,
Yeah, like I said, that was the one thing I noticed as soon as I read it, and I went through every single slide or whatever of it, and it was Arians, it was the Glazer family, which obviously owns the Bucks organization, the GM, it was everyone in the Bucks, but just no one in the Patriots. Yeah, I mean, I think it was for sure on purpose. Now, I mean, obviously, I don't have a side in this. I mean, I don't care that he didn't think the Patriots, but if it was like my team or whatever, I wouldn't know if I'd like care so much, but yeah, I'd for sure, it's definitely a little dig into, your fan base and everything. I don't think he has anything wrong with the fan base. I think it's obviously the organization, but yeah, being a fan of that team, I think it would irk me a little bit, I would say, but I wouldn't be going over all over social media like complaining and talking about how could he leave us off and how could he do that to us? I mean, he
what would
is
it
the
take for you to
greatest.
do that? What would it take for you to go on Twitter and start complaining? I mean, let's be
I,
honest.
oh, me? I don't know.
What would the
Maybe.
Cowboys have to do for you to legitimately like go on an angry, fit on Twitter? I mean, what? What would they have to do? Like trade
Uh,
Prescott for a fifth rounder or something? I mean,
something like really dumb or like I don't know, just like have a fully healthy team and be like 1-16 or something like that. Like something like ridiculous. I don't know.
so I mean, yeah, I think your opinion is you think it's pretty bad. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I'll take the 6 Super Bowls. I'll take the 10 Super Bowl appearances. I will
Yeah, no,
take,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, um,
I mean,
I don't.
that's why it shouldn't really matter to Pats fans because like who cares if he says thank you or not? I mean, like
He already
he
did.
won you 6 Super Bowls. Yeah, and technically he already did. So I don't yeah, no, I don't like I said, I don't really care. But
Yeah. So it is what it is. I do want to ask you this. We don't have to spend too much time on it. Number one. I mean, I'll let you go where you want with it. But if we're making a top 20 athletes of the 21st century list, give me your 1 and 2. I mean, I think we know who the 1 and 2 are going to be. Just give me your order, I guess.
yeah, no, I mean it would to me it'd be Brady then LeBron. I think that's what most people would say, to be honest. Yeah, I think basketball, obviously, the difference is that basketball, it's easier to win a championship because, again, one great player can win you a championship. But at the same time, you're playing offense and defense. There's two sides to the game. While football, you can only control what you can control. So I think that's the argument that people will say. But no, I mean, to win 7 Super Bowls, I mean, 22 years in the league, 10 Super Bowl appearances. I mean, almost half the time he was in the NFL, he made a Super Bowl. I mean, that's just crazy to think about when you like actually think about that. So in my mind, it's for sure Brady, then LeBron second for the 21st century.
So my number one is going to be Simone Biles, and my second is going to be Serena Williams. No, I'm kidding.
You want to have Michael Phelps number one?
I don't know. I can't get into individual. I just don't know enough. Anybody who chickens out of the Olympics just can't be my list. So Simone Biles, I'm sorry, but no, I'm kidding. I that's a joke. Simone Biles is up there, not 1 or 2 for me, but I'm going Brady number one. James number 2 as well. I've heard the argument James could be number 1 because he's won 4 rings. He's made 7 finals now. I believe maybe more, 8,
No.
9, 10,
He's made more than that. He's 4-6, I believe, in the
10,
finals.
10 finals. And that's a sport that you can have an easier time controlling because the best player is just going to be, on average, going to be winning the championship and make the finals every year. So that's an argument for James. I actually think that's an argument for Brady, and that's why I kind of have Brady at 1 is, yes, football is the harder sport to control as one individual person, but I think that's what makes Brady's run just absolutely just it's never going to happen again probably until the rules, swing more in the quarterback's favor, which they probably will, but they're not going to it's just not going to happen again. I don't think it's going to happen again. In a sport like this where you can't control everything, you can only play offense, you can only throw the ball, half the plays you're running, so you just hand the ball off. All this, where compared to basketball, where you can shoot every time if you theoretically wanted to, you're playing both sides of the ball. The most athletic, dominant guy is going to dominate on the court every single time. It's just how it is. It's basketball. It's a talent-based sport. With all that being said, Brady found a way to be more dominant in his sport, or just as dominant at least, on the win-loss sheet than LeBron. I've heard the argument that LeBron took worse coaches to better places and worse teams. I mean, I think in general that is true. Bruce Arians is just, to me, I don't think there's no any, I don't think he's a good coach. And now, was he a bad coach? I don't know, but I think if you ask Brady right now, why are you not playing? I think in the top 3 of his list, Bruce Arians is up there. I think Bruce Arians was a bad head coach this year. I don't think he was necessarily a great head coach in the first year with Brady when they won the Super Bowl. I think that was a lot of Brady's doing and a lot of Brady's reasoning they got there. Yeah, I have Brady as my number 1. To me, I think there's, and I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot of reasons why, not on the field, why Brady's teams have been so successful. And I think the people that want to go with James as number 1 don't really understand it. So that's why I go Brady number 1. And, call me biased if you want, but if it was the other way around, I would have no problem putting Brady at number 2 and LeBron at number 1 had it been the other way around, with my arguments. So.
Yeah, and just one other thing. I mean, he went 10 years without even winning a Super Bowl in his. I mean, that's crazy to think that he was able to win 7 and he went 10 years without winning one. I mean, that's pretty again, that's just another thing. Like when you actually think about that, that's like ridiculous to think that you can go 10 years, which again, most people would die for a 10-year NFL career. And he didn't even win a Super Bowl in those 10 years, and he still ended up with 7. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, so people have always said that you got two Hall of Fame careers in Brady's career. How many Hall of Fame careers could you divide it up into without having one non-Hall of Fame career?
I think 3.
I want to try to make the argument for 4. I think I could. I mean, 01 to 03. Does that get you enough to have a Hall of Fame career? That's 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Okay.
I don't
fine.
think it's not because there's just no stat. Even though it's 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, there's no stats. It's just not enough. Not
sure.
enough.
Okay. So what would you have that? What would you have that? Would you have 01 to what?
I would have 01 to I think 06. Right before the MVP year with Randy Moss. I think it was 07. I think that was. So 01 to right before that year. I think again that's like 5 or 6 years, 3 Super Bowls. You have the stats, you have the wins, you have all that. That should be enough to get you in. Then from again the 10 years where he didn't win one, which was 07 to right before the Seattle one, so 2013, 2014, whatever. He won at least one MVP in there, got to 2 Super Bowls, had 50 touchdowns, all the yards, all the stats, and then 2014 to 20 whatever this year, 2021, I would say is his 3rd one with obviously the 4 Super Bowls, one more MVP, 2 more MVPs, whatever it was. And all the records and all the stats and everything again.
Yeah, if we wanted to go off pure accolades and just, even though I say 01 to 03, we're just going to assume he had a 10-year career with, whatever stats that are just kind of average for a Hall of Famer. I mean, pure just accolades, I think you go 01 to 03, 04 to 2014, 15 and no, you know what? Never mind. Okay, I'm trying to find a way to divide it into 4. I guess maybe there's just not. I
think you could. I think if you went from 04 to 2011, you probably could, and then you could do 2012 to 2017 or 16 or whatever year you want to put it to, and then you could do the rest. I think you could probably divide it like that.
Yeah, if we're taking off the fact that you can't have a Hall of Fame career in 2 years, yeah, I think you go 01, 03, 04. I think you go 04 2010, and then 2011 to 2014, or maybe 2013. 11 to 13. I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, I'll go 11-14, get him the Super Bowl there. 15 to 17, that gets him a Super Bowl win and another Super Bowl appearance. And then 18 with the win, 19 with the unfortunate Titans year, 20 with the Tampa Bay win, and then 21 with this year. I mean, how many did we just break it up? Is that 4?
You broke it into 5, I think.
Broke it into 5? I mean, obviously, you can't make the Hall of Fame only playing 2 or 3 or 4 years. But if we're taking out the fact that that's a thing, then that's enough. That's enough Super Bowl appearances / accolades or whatever, excluding yards, pretty much touchdowns. That's enough to make the Hall of Fame at least probably 4 times, maybe 5. I don't know. But anyways, I don't know. I couldn't even care less about that stuff, by the way. I don't even care about the MVPs. I don't care about that. I care about the wins. But I think that's it. Unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about.
Oh, that was it.
All right. Well, appreciate everybody who stayed to the end of this episode. Feel free to check out everything. Social media in the description should be fully ready to go, updated. I'm going to pray that that's the case. Everything should be ready to go. I've been saying way too much this episode. I'm just trying not to do that. But Brandon, anything else? Any last words before we,
I don't think so. I think that's it.
All right. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. Looking forward to the Pro Bowl. One last thing I did want to say. Russell Wilson set a record, I want to say, for the accuracy drill in the Pro Bowl where you try to get the most amount of points. Absolutely awesome. I think that makes my MVP pick for Russell Wilson to begin the year just completely valid at this point. If it wasn't for the thumb injury, finger injury, MVP, undoubtedly. So
the fact that he's a Pro Bowler is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how he's a Pro Bowler.
Who would have been? The Pro Bowl is almost as bad as the NBA All-Star Game, probably worse.
It's worse.
Where my cares are allocated, the Pro Bowl, 0. I could not care less about the Pro Bowl. I'm not even going to watch the Pro Bowl. Are you going to watch the Pro Bowl?
Unless it's just like on or something, I'm not going to watch it. It's going to be watched if it's on.
It's going to be like glanced at every now and then to see if there's some crazy hit, which, by the way, is not going to happen. So
yeah, it's basically touch football in the Pro Bowl. So,
have you seen the clip? I mean, this was like too young for me, but the clip of Sean Taylor railing Brian Moorman, I think it was, Bills punter.
Yeah,
that's like the best like play ever. I mean, I want some just like disgusting hits in the Pro Bowl. I know it's maybe that's unethical, but like I want to see. Who are the safeties in the Pro Bowl this year? Is Jamal Adams a Pro Bowler?
No. It's Poyer. Poyer's a Pro Bowler.
Who's the hardest hitter in the Pro Bowl this year? Do we know?
I have 0 clue, to be honest.
I just want to see some big hit. Like I want to see Hunter Renfrow just go across the middle, and I just want to see some just insane hit, and just everyone just obviously it's touch football, so everyone's just like standing there looking at each other like what just happened. Like should I stick up for my teammate in Renfrow and go push the other safety or whatever? Or that to me that would be just a crazy thing. I mean I wouldn't really want that necessarily. As long I'd want it as long as Renfrow doesn't get a concussion. We'll just hope he gets the wind knocked out of him and it looks way worse than it is. I want something like that. I want some juice in the Pro Bowl. I'd like for people to start trying again, but even if people did start trying again and it became a legit game again, I'm still really not sure that I would really care that much to watch. Maybe instead of glancing over one time a quarter, I'm glancing over like 9 or 10 times a quarter. So I pay more attention, but realistically, still not really a game that I care about anyways. But so anyways though, we'll be back within the next few days, hopefully at the studio, probably Super Bowl talk. Look forward to it. Secondary channel, social medias, whatever. Bye. Goodbye.